So starting with introductions, for those of us on the call, my name is Sarah Lynn Smith. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Program Development Manager responsible for our Certified Public Manager program, along with a variety of others like our Lean Six Sigma program. I work with instructors in the program, track student progress, assist with marketing, and work with students on any questions or issues that they encounter before, during, and after the program. I did just start here at UWT in late January though, so I'm joined today actually by just one other person who knows a lot about our program. So that's Debbie Ruff-Mack, an instructor and also one of the co-developers of our program. We were hoping to have Chief James Shrimsher from the Auburn Police Department here as well, who is an alum of our program and also a member of our advisory committee, but it looks like he was not able to join us today. Finally, he's not on this, but the fellow that I've mentioned a couple of times, Gerald Ananuevo, who is our information specialist here in the Professional Development Center, is here to just kind of help keep an eye on things from that technical angle. So I will be providing the core information about our program, then I'm going to give Debbie some time to talk a little bit about her experience as an instructor and what she sees students' progress and gains and experience to be like in the program. I do want to start though with just a little bit of information about the Professional Development Center here at UW-Tacoma, which was formerly known as the KeyBank Professional Development Center. So you may have seen that branding with the red and the black in the past. We are that same department, we just no longer have that KeyBank naming. We run CEU and non-credit programming, including open enrollment courses in Lean Six Sigma and project management, among others, longer CEU level certificates in things like human resource management, nonprofit management, and also customized and contracted training for specific organizations like King County, Boeing, and many others across the Puget Sound. I think there were supposed to be one or two people from King County Department of Natural Resources possibly on the call today. We just did a big Lean Six Sigma, second round of Lean Six Sigma Greenbelt training for them in this last winter, which was really great. We also partner with other academic units here at UWT, like the Milgard School of Business, to deliver non-credit or CEU level programming. So a good example of that is Milgard's Essentials of Management program, which is a really cool, almost mini MBA that they run out of the school, but that we really kind of deliver the logistics for. But you are here to hear about the Certified Public Manager, which is also known as the CPM. The Certified Public Manager is a national certification associated, unsurprisingly, with the National Certified Public Manager Consortium. The consortium sets the standards for and approves programs across the United States and its territories, as well as one or two international areas, with only one program allowed per state. And Debbie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I really think that the reason for that is to make sure that each program has some content that is really specific to the context of practice for the participants. Since histories of different territories and places and policies in those locales can vary so much from state to state. So there are these general things that apply across the board, but then we're also covering information that is more specific to your practice context. The general goal of the consortium and really all of our CPM programs is to improve the performance of public sector managers and the organizational performance of state, local, federal, and tribal governments by applying theory to practical problems facing participants. In other words, the CPM program works to give public servants like yourselves the tools to do their jobs more effectively and thoughtfully, whether that's through their interpersonal relations, technical work, or the processes and policies that they use. Our programs do this by cultivating, our programs do this by addressing 7 core competencies woven throughout courses and projects. So the first is personal and organizational integrity, which includes increasing awareness, building skills for identifying potential ethical problems, appropriate workplace behavior, legal and policy compliance. Managing work is effective planning, prioritizing, organizing, and aligning of various resources, effective delegation and empowering others, meaningful feedback and coaching for those that you supervise, creating a motivational environment, and measuring, monitoring, and modifying performance. Leading people is about inspiring others to positive action through a clear vision. It's also promoting a diverse workforce, encouraging and facilitating cooperation, pride, trust, commitment, and group identity, as well as effectively managing emotions and impulses. Developing self, demonstrating commitment to continuous learning, self-awareness, and individual performance. Systemic integration, which is one of my favorite core competencies that we address, which is approaching planning, decision-making, and implementation from an enterprise perspective, right? So not just your team, not just your department, not even just your agency, but how do all of those things work together in this larger context? How do they impact things? As well as understanding internal and external relationships that impact the organization. Public service focus is fairly self-explanatory, but demonstrating commitment to and delivering quality service to the public and internal recipients also, so other folks within your agency or broader context, and implementing paradigms, processes, and procedures that exude positive spirit and climate. And then finally, change leadership, which is acting as a change agent, but also implementing strategies to help others adapt to changes, as well as being proactive and emphasizing and fostering creativity and innovation. Here at UW, we actually have one more competency that we address, which is process improvement, a little bit more specifically, which allows us to confer an additional certificate at the end of our program. So our alums actually receive both their Certified Public Manager national certification, as well as a UW Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certificate. So we are one of only 2 programs out of the entire consortium that does that. So a little bit of background about our program. Began in 2014, and you can see our cohort in the bottom photo on the slide there. And we've certified more than 30 public managers since then. Most recently, our 2018-19 cohort, which is in the other photo on that slide. Our program covers the required 303 program hours that the consortium sets by spreading those across 3 terms or 10 months, although not all of those hours are actually in the classroom. And we'll get to that in a little bit here when we look at the major components of the program. We refer to our format for the program as technology assisted, quote unquote, which means that you'll have some readings and assignments like reflections or capstone project milestones that you will complete in our online learning management system before and after each classroom module. And the learning management system that we use is Canvas. The full cost of the program is $5,697, not including registration fees and textbooks, but you can actually save up to $300 on that total by registering for class early. So we do have an early bird rate that you can take advantage of to save that money. So now into those specifics about the program. We address those 8 core competencies, the core CPM 7, and then process improvement more specifically, by weaving them throughout 13 course modules that you see here on the screen. Typically, we would cover each of these modules with once a month meetings at UW that last 1 to 3 consecutive days. So like a Wednesday through Friday or Thursday to Friday, once a month throughout the year. Some of these modules have 1 quote unquote day's worth of content delivered online through recorded lectures or something like that. And then we also have the writing module as a fully online self-paced module. And both of those strategies are meant to help reduce the amount of time that you are away from work, right? That you have to be physically, quote unquote, physically present in the classes. As you might expect though, and possibly a reason why some of you are here, the ongoing public health situation throws a little bit of a wrench in that typical approach. What we've decided is that for this year, we'll be moving to 100% remote instruction through Zoom for classroom sessions. So we will still have that Canvas support, as we always do, and then the in-person sessions will just switch to being in Zoom. I'm currently working with our instructors, like Debbie, to kind of figure out exactly how that's going to work for this program and make some adjustments to our schedule. And I'll hopefully have some information about that soon, and you will all be on the email notifications now for that information. What I expect that we will probably do is break up each day of instruction into 2 or 3 shorter blocks per day to help mitigate that Zoom fatigue. So instead of having 3 days in a row, 7 hours each day, as we would usually, we would spread that out a little bit more and just have, say, 2.5 or 3 hours per meeting spread out over more days. I know for me, for example, I probably wouldn't want to sit in a web conference for 7 hours a day, 3 days in a row. So we were trying to kind of be sensitive to that and figure out the best way to deliver that content in a way that is convenient for schedules, but also recognizes that very real web conference fatigue. We're also hoping that the situation will permit us to hold at least a few in-person class sessions throughout the year to help promote cohort connections and cohesion as well, because we've heard consistently that the cohort and that network that we build in the cohort is one of the most valuable things about the program. So we're very aware of that, and hopefully the situation will permit us to do that. So in addition to those 13 classroom, well, really 12 classroom modules and the self-paced module, participants will complete 2 projects that contribute to that overall 303 hours. So the first is a self-leadership project, which is typically about 3 to 5 written pages and accounts for 10 hours of the program. And the self-leadership project addresses how a participant has applied new concepts from the program, up to that point, and how that application demonstrates mastery of certain CPM competencies. For example, a participant may choose to implement a specific vision or values exercise with their own team. In their self-leadership project then, they would explain why they've chosen this, the potential risks and benefits, and success indicators before they implement, and then reflect on it after implementation. The big project for the year is the capstone, and that is a Lean Six Sigma process improvement project chosen and implemented by the participant. It should take about 50 hours to complete and includes both a written and a presentation portion. It's an opportunity to really work within your agency to improve processes in a way that strengthens the programs or the organization, as well as translate what you've learned in the CPM program into action. And it's one of the things that really makes me excited about the program, because past projects that I've had the opportunity to look through really show a wide variety of topics and impact, from time card submission and employee onboarding process revamps to revamping reports and reporting, to creating a plan for home detention monitoring to reduce the number of jail space rental days. I think that was actually James's, and I was hoping he'd be able to speak to it today, but unfortunately he's not here. The capstone is completed in several stages over term 2 and term 3, and it's first presented internally to the sponsors you've chosen, then in a semi-public capstone event that we are still hoping to be able to hold at UW as normal towards the end, during next summer. Then the last requirement that I want to touch in that contributes to those 303 hours is 40 hours of supervisory level training outside the CPM program. But most participants actually just apply trainings they've already completed with DES or the city of Tacoma or various other organizations, right? Because there are, for many folks, when they get into a supervisory position, mandated trainings. And we want to recognize that training that you've already completed before getting to our program and avoid making you repeat things where we can. So many participants actually have the full 40 hours before they apply for the program. And so that's they can kind of just write that off. But if you don't, we do have that flexibility where you can either pick up any additional hours you need or complete the full 40 hours over the course of the year, whether that is through workshops and courses offered at UW or even if you need to pick them up elsewhere. So maybe it's in your professional development plan that you do the DES training this year. Perfect. That applies to the program. So if you have any questions about that, there's some more detailed information about it on our website, or I'm happy to answer questions about it or do some research for you. Okay, wonderful. I am done talking for a little while. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat and we'll get to them in a few minutes here. And while you're doing that, we will hear from Debbie Ruff-Mack, who has definitely, now I know, been an instructor in the program since its inception and helped design it. So Debbie, you teach the first 2 modules in the program, and then you return for the capstone presentations. Could you share with us a little bit about your experience with the students, what kind of backgrounds you've seen them come from, or what kind of changes you've seen in them over the course of the program?
Sure. I think probably the most common characteristic of someone that comes into the program is someone who is maybe operating on instinct as a leader a little bit and has perhaps some looking for some validation, some confidence, some how-tos, some specifics. Often the kind of person that comes into this program is got some significant leadership strengths and has found themselves in a leadership role or really wants to be in a leadership role and really wants to expand their concept of what does it really mean to be a leader and how do I know if I'm quote good enough or do I what would it take for me to sharpen my skills in a way that it gives me confidence and makes me promotable if that's what I want. So I think there are people that are looking to broaden their skills, broaden their interests, a safe place to learn, and to explore some of their interests in leadership. And if oftentimes there are people in the program who are, going to be facing decision points about where they want their career to go. Another draw, of course, is the Lean Six Sigma thing, and that's the opportunity to get not only a credential, but to really have some impact in your own organization. And that can be great for your resume. It's also a very transferable skill. So once you get the Lean Six Sigma credential and the understanding of some of those aspects of the program, it broadens your employability. And the CPM program does that too, because it touches on a variety of different aspects of leadership, as Sarah-Lynn said. And I believe it makes you a more well-rounded leader, excuse me. What else do I want to say about that?
Well, I really there's a couple points that you made, if you don't mind, that I think are really great. One is that idea of it being, they're both related. One is that idea of it being a safe space, right? And so we don't necessarily mean that as you won't be challenged, but that it's a place where you can explore and kind of try to figure out what kind of leader am I? What kind of leader do I want to be? And then that you can do that in a space where, sure, there may be another King County employee or other state employees there, but it's a very different kind of feeling than going through, say, an emotional intelligence training within your department or your agency, right? Sometimes there's a freedom in taking a step outside that area and being able to talk about the challenges that you have with people who are not embedded in those exact same challenges.
Absolutely. One of my favorite aspects of the program is the systemic aspect, which sounds kind of strange, but what that means to me in this point is as you are developing yourself as a leader, we ask the student often to step away from the experience that they're having and try to observe it. We call it not only being on the dance floor, but also stepping up to the balcony
Mm,
so that you can learn from the experience of being in it and also observing it.
yeah.
And that part of the value from that comes from being with a group of people who have the same sort of general interests as you in terms of developing themselves as leaders and want to support you in that learning. You're learning with partners who want you to be successful. And it's probably the biggest source of pride for me as being part of this program is when I come back at the end program, I know those people have taken care of each other along that learning journey. And that's usually what I say to them when I leave is take care of each other because I'm going to come back at the end. I want to make sure everybody is standing and clapping for each other's success. And they are.
That's great. And then the other thing, which is again kind of related to that, is that idea of transferability. So I know a lot of, with the focus on lean within Washington State, that a lot of agencies will do sometimes their own little internal trainings, right? So you may have a black belt who gives everyone, a rundown of what Lean Six Sigma is and how we're using it. But that doesn't necessarily mean if you move to even a different agency, they're going to recognize that training, right? And say, oh yes, you are a Lean Six Sigma green belt or what have you. And so by doing a program like this, you are being able to put on your resume, right, that this is a program through the university, it's something external, it's something where people could go back and verify what is the content, what are the qualifications of the instructor. So it has that portability that you don't necessarily get just with something internal to your team.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Debbie. And Debbie and I, again, happy to answer questions. Before we get to the questions, I do just wanted to run really quickly, kind of show you the application process for our program. It's very simple. You do not have to apply or be admitted to UW Tacoma. This is not a degree level program. You do have to submit an online application to the program, to our program, which is, there's a link to that on our website, and I will also send it out afterwards. And you'll need a few documents to do that. So you'll need a current resume that shows that you are a current, at least first level supervisor. You'll need proof of your prior training if you are bringing in any amount of those 40 hours for that supervisory training. So that would be your printout transcript from the DES trainings or your certificates, something like that. We also have a form available on the website so that if you are not bringing in that full 40 hours, you can give us kind of an expectation of how are you planning to complete the rest of your hours over this year. You're also going to need a letter of recommendation from a supervisor that you have. And that's not a letter of support, right? So this is not going to be, yes, I release Jacqueline to do this program. This is, Jacqueline would be a great candidate for this program because of these reasons. Doesn't need to be long and involved, but we want to see someone who sees that potential in you. You'll upload those documents to the application. We will review it, and then once you're accepted, I will send you a link for where you can register online. So you won't be able to register until you're admitted, and you can go ahead and register and get that seat secured and secure your early bird registration before putting in payment. So if you are getting sponsorship from your department, and there's a little bit of a process for that, as most of us are aware, you don't have to worry about getting all your paperwork in line before you register. Go ahead, register, get everything secured, and then we will work with you on making sure we get the appropriate documentation, we get that payment done in time. So like I said, pretty simple. There's not even a fee to apply. I'll make it as easy as we can for you. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking this time. I hope you learned something about the program or about those of us involved in the program. If you are interested, you have more questions, please let me know.